Namaskar and a very good afternoon to all of you. So it's very good to be back in Brussels. I think I was here 2 years ago, and I thank you all for taking the time and coming here today for this gathering, for this interaction. And I believe it's a holiday today, so I feel a little less guilty when we're here. But I, as the ambassador shared with you, I'm here for an official visit to Belgium. Today, even though it was a holiday, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Maxime Provost met me. We had a meeting, we had lunch together, and tomorrow I hope to meet the leadership of Belgium. And of course, the European Union's leadership, many of the commissioners, and then normally you meet the press and other people, business people. If I were to, in a way, give you a context for what I'm doing, I think all of you living in Belgium, living in a way at, you can say, almost the center of Europe, will understand today that a lot of things are happening in the world, particularly in respect of Europe itself. And there is a much sharper interest in Europe to build ties, stronger ties with India. I think part of it is the direction in which the world is going. There is an increasing sense that, look, all countries, I mean, in a way, what we used to speak about Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think there is also Atmanirbhar Europe now in the making. They realize that, look, many of the problems of Europe have to be addressed by Europe itself, that they have to stand more on their own feet, and therefore they also need more friends. They need stronger relationships with other countries, and I think that's very much kind of a thinking which is driving the process. Now, you all come from different professions, from different walks of life, do your own thing. So I'm sure you don't need me to tell you, what is happening here and what are the possibilities. But certainly, when it comes to Belgium specifically, we can see, I mean, Belgium has always been a major trade partner for India. Our trade is about between $16 to $18 billion every year. But it is also in many ways a gateway into Europe. We've always had a good political understanding. It was one of the earliest countries to establish diplomatic relations with India. So pretty much as soon as we became independent. So politically things have been always smooth for us. But our effort now is really not just be satisfied with what we have, but to intensify our cooperation with different countries, particularly I would say the economic cooperation, the people-to-people linkages. For us, the well-being of the community is an increasingly important factor. I will talk about that separately. So there is really a lot that is happening in our conversation. And just as an example, I would say today that, when we look at today's world, those of you who are in that field, or even if you're not in that field, will understand semiconductors is very important, and Belgium has a very key role with IMEC where that is concerned. Or those of you who have anything to do with the medical pharmaceutical world will know this is a big hub. It's a very, very key center for pharma related research and production, and there again a lot of our companies have tied up. So whether you're looking at vaccines or diagnostics, or I would say even something like sickle cell anemia, there's a lot of work and there's a lot of solutions which are coming out of India-Belgium cooperation. If one were to look a little bit ahead, I think now Belgium will be a very important green hydrogen center, particularly Antwerp, Bruges will be I think import hub, and one of the very important projects which is being set up here is by a Belgian company called John Cockerill in Kakinada. They're setting up an electrolyzer factory. So I'm giving you those as examples really of how definitely it's a good relationship, a very smooth relationship, but we want it to be sort of more ambitious, more stronger and bigger in terms of the outcomes. And of course, some industries are historical here. I don't have to say, the diamonds is a very, very important and a very long-standing industry. And here again, there have been some issues in that business which we have tried to engage with Belgium and try to fix. Now, I refer to how we are upgrading our ties because there is one consequence of all of this, and that is actually mobility and talent. That what economics has done, what business has done, is actually create the basis for people to come and go. And I think the steady growth in the Indian community today in Belgium is one outcome of that. And when we look ahead, I am very confident that the that our community here will grow because Europe is increasingly constrained in terms of the talent. The demographics of Europe are such. Now, I know, in this part of the world, there are debates. There are debates about immigration. There are sensitivities on that score. But where Indians are concerned, I think whether it is an Indian student or whether it's an Indian professional or whether it's an Indian business person, I think the fact that we contribute to this society, the fact that for them in many ways this partnership fills a gap or creates a new value proposition for them, I think that is something which is widely recognized, and we definitely feel that stepping back, that you're going to see both a deeper engagement in terms of mobility, because particularly the AI requirements will need more talent, so will the semiconductor needs, so will the research needs, but also we expect to see much more Belgian commitments and EU commitments into India. The global capability centers established by big businesses is also growing. So I then come back to what I always say, and each time I say it with an ever and ever stronger conviction, that the good image of India, today the fact that we are regarded across the world with so much respect and regard, that is largely shaped by actually the Indian community in different countries. That when people in any society think of India, they certainly have, what they will pick up in social media or television or through their particular experiences, but at the end of the day, they relate it to an Indian that they know. That an Indian in the workplace, an Indian who's the neighbor, an Indian who they have met somewhere. And if that impression is good and strong and productive and contribute that image of India actually flows from it. And my experience, I have 2 weeks ago, I was in some other European countries. I can tell you at a time when actually immigration is a very controversial subject in Europe, that the image about Indians who live and work in Europe and contribute to Europe is actually exceptionally good. And for us, I want to say, for us as a country, for us as a government, for me as a minister for foreign ministry, this is a huge asset. That it actually creates a certain, I would say, an environment, a groundswell of support. So even when I'll be meeting, for example, tomorrow, a number of European MPs of the European Parliament, that when I talk to them, this overall, the sort of the Indian with the family-centric Indian with a strong work ethic, this is our image, and this is something all of you have really done us proud, and I thank you for it, because I think in many ways that is the shaper of our reputation here. I also want to share with you something else which happened a few months ago in India, which was we had a delegation from Belgium, led by Her Royal Highness Prince Astrid. And it was a very unusual delegation, because you had a member of the royal family lead a delegation which had almost 150 companies, 6 chambers of commerce, about 20 state-owned enterprises, their representatives, and 9 universities and academic institutions. So the scale of it and the intensity of it was something very exceptional. And I point that out to you because, often we say, relations are good, things are improving, the other country thinks better of us. But just like, as I say, if on a holiday, if your counterpart can make time for you, similarly, if you have a delegation of this scale, and it wasn't that they came to Delhi, checked the box and went away. They spent a lot of time in India. They traveled to UP, they traveled to Gujarat, they went around meeting people. And I cite that to you again as an example today of how much more seriously, how much more, positively today India is being taken. So that's really, in a way, what I had to say about the relationship. Of course, things are happening between us and the European Union as well. The main issue there is the free trade agreement negotiation. It will have, in many ways, obviously a very strong economic consequence. So many of you, in some way or the other, would have an interest in it. I can only say that it is going well. I think we have done more than half the job, perhaps more, maybe half is conservative. And our ministers, trade ministers, have been meeting regularly, and we have set ourselves the goal of trying to complete it by the end of the year, and people are making a full effort in that direction. And as and when it happens, I'm sure that it would be a game-changing event for not just for our relations with Belgium, but really for all of Europe. Now, I have in many ways spoken about the changes in our foreign relations, changes in our image, but there is underlying all of that a change in India. And that change, I think, has been very, very strong, very sharp in the last decade. And, as someone who's spent pretty much all his working life in the government, I am, in a way, able to make a very objective judgment, a comparison, in a way. And I would say very candidly, what has really changed is that we have a combination today of both a big vision or ambition for the country, as well as a commitment to do things on the ground. So what is said is not a slogan or just sort of a phrase or just words. Whatever is spelled out, whatever is put before the country or before the world, actually in a very, very practical way, in a very concrete way, it is sought to be translated into something substantial on the ground. And I don't know how often you all travel to India, but I'm pretty sure every time you do, and every time you go back to whichever town or city or village you come from, I'm sure you see some example of it. I mean, the one thing which is common across India is wherever you go across India, something is being built. There is a road which is being built. There is houses which are being built. There are new railway tracks coming up. The new airports and places which you may not have known earlier. And in many ways, that is a good metric to judge what is changing in India. And when you meet people, especially coming from Europe, I recently was addressing the advisory board, the global advisory board of a very big European company. And when you put that kind of scale of change before them, if you tell them that, look, every year today in India, between 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers of railway track are being built, or that 10,000 kilometers of highway are being built. This is for them really mind-boggling. And it is mind-boggling because wherever you are meeting them, actually they have seen some evidence of it. I mean, it's not just a number that you are throwing, and it's also visible for them in terms of they see it in their business lives, they see it in the ease of travel. That if the airports in India have doubled in the last decade, that's quite evident to them. So the physical changes in India are are obviously very visible and very important facet of the transformation which is underway. But there is the other side, and that's actually the people's side. In terms of how well is the average person, how well is the population doing. And here again, actually, you can see that even though in the last decade we've had sometimes a once-in-a-century challenge like the COVID. I first came to Europe maybe almost 45 years ago. Okay, Europe was often held up as an example to much of the world about what is possible, and there are many good reasons for that. I mean, after a very difficult history, they have come together in a manner in which there's virtually no other example for something like the European Union. So there is a lot that can be said to the credit of this part of the world. But what is, I think today for me very striking, is this sense in India that, for us, almost like every year or every few years, you can see your life is getting better. That places which did not have electricity or did not have water have. People who did not have houses have. People who had it have improved it. Your ability to reach places is better. As I said, ease of movement is better. There is a sort of an optimism, and it's again not just a business optimism. If you look at it, younger people today, whether it is at the level of startups or innovation, or whether it's even at the level of, say, a person who has a cart, or people who are working out of homes. The ability of people today to secure loans for small businesses has undergone actually a sea change. And the sort of I would say the well-being, from physical well-being to a belief that their expectations have gone up, rightly so, and as the delivery gets better, and a big part of it is actually how much more digitized. Whether I come to Europe or whether I go to US, North America, frankly, even if I travel around rest of Asia, I see how much more digitized we have become, how much more deeply we have embraced technology in India, and to me, that bodes very well for the times to come. So, those were some of the impressions of home, of our relationship, of how we look at the world that I wanted to share with you. What again, I take the opportunity to underline that there has been, and you've all evidenced that for, seen it for yourself, that in the last decade, where Prime Minister Modi is concerned, his governments have put a certain premium, a certain special value on the diaspora, on the Indian community. We see you very much as key to our interactions with the world. And a world which will increasingly become a global workplace. That the idea, where there will be demands where people will move increasingly from one society to another. There will be a global workplace and a global workforce, and in many ways you are all the pioneers of that. And also an India whose image is shaped by, both the challenges and the contributions it has made. That COVID, was a terrible calamity, and people really thought that if there is one country which will find it difficult to cope with it, it would be India. So we began the COVID as a concern for the world, and we ended the COVID as the main provider of vaccines for about 100 countries in the world. Or you had, again, a challenge like when the war started in Ukraine. And the majority of countries, frankly, those who had people there, left their people to their own devices. And we were one of the few who not only made an effort to get our own people out, but wherever possible, it was something that we did to the others. And that kind of an India that is contributing. We just had a few months ago a very, very serious earthquake in Myanmar. And we were the first country to go in there with a field hospital, with rescue teams. And increasingly in that part of the world, there is that feeling that, look, if there is a crisis, at least India will step up and India will do what it can. Now, having put all these thoughts before you, of course I do want to share something which I know would be uppermost in your minds as well, which is the Operation Synindur, and the challenge of terrorism that we have just addressed, and which of course we'll have to continue addressing. And when I was talking to my Belgian counterpart today, I was telling him I came here along with Prime Minister Modi in 2016, in March of 2016, maybe, I forget it, maybe about a week after there was a terrorist attack in Brussels. And why I mentioned it is to drive home the point that, look, terrorism is not a particular country's problem. Don't look at this, because often the media, which is not always free of bias, tends to present it saying there is an India-Pakistan issue, or this is about Kashmir. This is about terrorism. It is about a challenge which I told him. I said, look, it could be me today, it could be you tomorrow, it could be somebody else. What distinguishes this challenge is often in different countries, a group does it, a set of forces. It is very rare to have a country which openly uses it as a state policy. So, and this is something which people in Europe have to understand, because that is not their experience. Terrorism happens here, but no European country or no neighbor of a European country does terrorism as a declared policy of their country. And I spent some time trying to make them understand, because it's not always easy for someone in a different environment. Really, when you tell people that, look, this has been going on for decades. In a way, it started from the time of independence. when they sent people they said these are tribal raiders who have come into Kashmir, it has nothing to do with us. Of course, it turned out finally Pakistani army was very firmly embedded among them. And the point is that it is a challenge, which is something which has targeted us more than it has any other country in contemporary times. And in fact, some years after the Brussels attack happened, I happened to meet an air hostess was very, very badly injured here, and her name was Nidhi Chapekar, and she's written a book called Unbroken, and it's about how her own journey, how she faced it, how she recovered from it. Now, we have faced the challenge of terrorism. We are, of course, unbroken, but we are more than unbroken. We are very determined. And this time, we wanted to send that message, saying enough is enough. So, to understand what we did, the focus of Operation Synindur was to hit Muridke and to hit Bhavalpur, because these were the two most prominent, open, declared, notorious centers of terrorism in Pakistan. And for decades, from these two places, people have set out, this is where it was planned, this is where it was organized, this is where it was financed, this is where it was justified. From here, people came out to do bad things in India. In the past, we have suffered, we have absorbed it, we have reacted to it. But even when really big, incidents happened or attacks happened, like Mumbai in 2008, often, obviously there was strong reaction in our country, but somewhere it stopped there. That the same Muridke was where Mumbai was planned. So the same Bhavalpur was where many other actions in India were planned. So this time around, we were very determined to send the message saying, look, this is it, and this time we are coming after you. And we are coming after you wherever you are. Just because you are 300 kilometers inside Pakistan doesn't mean you have impunity. That we will find a way of coming there and getting you. And that is the message of Operation Synindur. And what is important, because I'm sure there will be some curiosity, people will ask you, saying something happened in your country or in your region. I think it's important for any of you, if the issue comes up, is really to project this or to explain it in terms of a country that has been subjected for so long to so much terrorism, that this time we felt that we had to hit the centers from which this came. So we believe that that message has gone through. In fact, as you would all know, within half an hour of Operation Synindur started, we had hit the 9 key sites, including Bhavalpur and Muridke. And we, eventually, after 4 days of conflict, we basically disabled all the key Pakistani air bases, so that finally they sent us a message saying they are willing to stop the firing and would like to establish some kind of stability after that. So for me, what is encouraging is, one, the fact that we took the decision. As I said, we are not just unbroken, we are very determined. The decision to go in there and hit them, and to say thereafter, when Prime Minister Modi says Operation in Synindur is not over, there's a clear message there saying we reserve the right to go after terrorists anytime, anywhere, if they have done harm to our people. Number two, what also for us is a big takeaway is the national unity. That we have had parliamentary delegations of different parties. I think they were here some days ago as well. And to see across the world leaders of different parties, often the delegations have been led by leaders of opposition parties, but presenting a united case, a unified case outside on this matter. I think it is something which has done our country and our democracy very proud. And third, of course, the messaging that on an issue like terrorism, don't treat it as an issue between two countries. Don't think this is just India's problem. I mean, if you look, in fact, at the history of terrorism in the last 20, 30 years, so many of these incidents eventually end up in Pakistan. The fingerprints, the trails, it's somebody from there who's done, this. So that's right now, of course, the big issue. I felt it was important. I shared those the thought process behind what we set out to do, and I'm sure in your own way, if this issue comes up with your colleagues or with your friends and neighbors and with people in Belgium, you will also find a way of handling it. So let me conclude there. Once again, I do want to say that look, we give Modi government, we give a lot of importance to Europe. We believe that even in the near term, if I say this decade, this will be one relationship, which will really grow. I can sense it, I can feel it. We will invest a lot of time and energy in growing this relationship. We believe today that similar sentiments exist in Europe, that it's not just us wanting better ties, deeper ties. I think we also believe that the same calculations, the same sentiment is there. And in all of this, we do believe that the people-to-people side, the contribution of the community, the bridge that you provide, the often Thank you very much.